come into the opening remarks, and his opponent will do opening remarks, and we'll jump right into questions. So with that, Bill, go ahead.
Well, hello everyone, I'm Bill Greenhill. Sorry about my voice, but the pollution has kind of got to me in the last couple of days. I'm Bill Greenhill. I'm running for re-election of Tarrant County College, District 4. I have been on the Board of Trustees for 10 years, two terms, and I'm running for another term. Personally, I am a lawyer with the firm of Haynes & Boone. I'm in the capital markets department of the firm, which means that I do capital market transactions, financial transactions. As a trustee, I'm doing this as a community service by putting students first, because thriving students mean a thriving TCC, and a thriving TCC means a flourishing Tarrant County. All of this for me, for us, is affordable, accessible, quality education for those who may not be able to afford it. TCC's motto is success within reach. Our mascot, by the way, is El Toro, and that's a bull. And what that means is you fight all the way. I'm passionate about these symbolic messages, very compassionate. As a lawyer, I'm spending a great deal of time and effort to enhance what is going on in Tarrant County College, and to enhance affordable, accessible, and quality education.
All right, Laura, your time for opening remarks.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Laura Pritchett, and it's certainly a pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you to Fort Worth Report for hosting this, and thank you for Texas Wesleyan for allowing us to be here on this beautiful campus. So to introduce myself, I have been in Texas since 2011 and in Tarrant County since 2015. My family made the decision to move here because it is such a wonderful place, has such a great culture, great society, and some wonderful people that we've been able to meet along the way. And one of the reasons, I've been asked many times, one of the reasons why I am running for this particular position is because Tarrant County College does have that opportunity to be a great resource in this community. It already is. It's doing some great things, but I think that it's time that we have somebody that can step up and show some true leadership on that board, to show good governance, and to be able to put the students first, and also to take care of the taxpayers. For far too long, the college has had a budget that has not had good oversight, and continues to take the money of the taxpayers and to continue to overinflate the budget. So by having the passion to be able to do that, really focusing in on the kids, I call them kids, they're 18 and up, so they're adults, but they're still kids. And we have an opportunity, we have a responsibility to protect them and to focus on job skills and workforce development so that they can be a part of this community and they can make a great impact in this community. So I thank you for the opportunity tonight to be able to speak about the benefits, the value that I will be able to bring to the board, and why I am the best candidate to be the trustee for District 4. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go right to the first question, and we'll let you field it first. Bill, how are your stances on the key issues different from your opponents? Let's go into more detail than the opening remarks, and why should voters return you to office rather than give someone else a chance?
Well, based upon well, first of all, you talk about experience. 10 years of being a trustee is something that's given me the opportunity to know exactly what is going on at Tarrant County College, the innumerable kinds of projects that we have, the partnerships that we have with various community companies, early college, high schools, I have the experience at early college, high schools, all of the programs that we have. I know exactly what is going on in Tarrant County College, and I have been able to support and understand what's going on in Tarrant County College. Secondly, I'm not only an advocate for Tarrant County College, but for all colleges. I was on what's called the Community College Association of Texas Trustees for 10 years. That is an organization that represents all of the trustees in our 54 community colleges. And I was chair of that board. And we worked very hard to advocate for community colleges. Among other things, money was going down from funding from the state. We were able to keep it during my tenure as president, chairman, to keep it even. Now we have what's called the commission, which is fixing to become law. And we're going to get, it's going to be based upon the formulation of our colleges. Money formulation is going to be based upon outcomes. And we're going to get about $500 million more, or right now, to fund our colleges. And that's part of the problem with the tax issues that we've been having before.
All right. Laura, same question, word slightly differently, of course, as a challenger, but how are you different, your stances on the key issues different from the incumbent, and why should voters vote for you rather than return to the incumbent with experience?
So I want to thank Mr. Greenhill for the time that he has served on this board. He certainly has devoted his recent years to community service, and I think that is wonderful. I think that all of us are here because we are committed to serving our community. This term is a 6-year term, and I think that is very important to note that Mr. Greenhill has served 2 terms, and that is very admirable. However, it seems that that by making a statement we are about to get $500 million more, I think that is indicative of many of the trustees on the board saying we're going to get more money. They're not getting more money. What they are is they are taxing the Tarrant County taxpayers more. And there isn't necessarily the proper oversight and alignment in the budget for what the actual needs are of the college. If you look at the budget, a nearly $400 million budget this past year, if you look at the amount of the money that is spent on administration versus on focusing it on the job skills and the workforce development, there are a number of great programs at the college. There's dual enrollment. There are ways that students can be trained in an apprenticeship program, that they can be trained in a 2-year program, or they can use this college as a pipeline to 4 years. But let's not forget that this isn't free money that they are just getting. This is money that each and every one of us who is a homeowner and a taxpayer in this county is giving to the college. No, we're not giving it to the college. The college has a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility, to make sure that they are good stewards of the money that they are entrusted with, and that it is focused, again, on the students and making sure that this community is a great community.
All right, Bill, you're up here for a rebuttal on this?
Well, yes, our budget process has just begun. It's very, we examined it very carefully. This is money from the state. It's not your tax, it's your tax money, but it's not from your property taxes. It's state. One of the problems that we have had is that state funding has been going down, and the legislators have put the burden on you as taxpayers. This will allow us to balance the act in regard to taxation. We haven't raised taxes, the amount of taxes, I mean the rate in 3 years, and that's never going to happen again. Our budget process is very extensive. We've already started it. It will end in August. And we review it twice a month. We review it twice a month. So, you know, The budget process is extensive, but we are very careful and scrutinizing.
Lori, would like to add to that?
I would. Mr. Greenhill said that the taxes did not go up. I would like to state that although the tax rate remained the same, because of the property taxes and the increase in the valuation, that the revenue itself actually did go up. And that's on record September of 2022, when one of the trustees motioned for the tax rate to remain the same when they had an opportunity to decrease it. It remained the same and the revenue did go up, and Mr. Greenhill was very quick to second the motion to increase the revenue at the college.
Bill, you want to add to that? I think it's important.
Yeah, I want to add something to that. I have a little piece here that says, the 2022 average home value in TCC was $267,925. That homeowner's property tax bill to the college was $348.76. In 2021, their home was valued at $239,477 and would have owed $311.73 to TCC. That homeowner paid $37 more in property taxes because of higher appraised value.
Lori, you want to add to that?
Yes, absolutely. Let's just go back to the fact that the reason why, and let's consider this revenue to the college, is at the expense of the taxpayers, and whether you're talking an increase of 5.2 pennies a day, or whether you're talking several $100s, it is still, the college is entrusted with this, and the college has a fiduciary responsibility to not just say, give me $500 million more because I've asked for it.
That's a state law.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one. We'll probably circle back to budget issues, but, and as I want to make the point in putting these questions together, we solicited from our audience too, and this next question comes from an audience member. The reader asked, and then we'll start with Laura. Please explain your rationale for eliminating critical race theory and diversity, equity, and inclusion programs when students of color make up about 2/3 of TCC's student body.
Well, first of all, I'd like to just acknowledge that Mr. Greenhill just said, uh-oh, when it was acknowledged that I'm taking the first response here. So I'm glad to answer this question. I think that it's a very important, it's a very critical question that is permeating a lot of our culture at this point in time. I think that it is very important. First of all, it is, Governor Abbott's office has come out and stated that any publicly funded institutions that practice any form of DEI will, that it is not against, or that it is against the law in the state of Texas. Mr. Greenhill's response when he was asked at our previous forum, what are you going to do about that? And his response was, well, if it's against the law, I guess we won't do it then. Well, that's coming from a lawyer. I think that that's a very astute response from him, so thank you. And I think the reason why it's important that we do not have that as part of the culture at the college is because we need to focus on academics, we need to focus on traditional academics, we need to focus on job skills and workforce development. I don't think that choosing a faculty member, choosing staff, it should be based upon what their outward appearance looks like. It should be 100% based on merit. Who's the best, most qualified for that particular position? I don't know why we are continuing to be divisive in our policies. The school needs to focus on job skills and workforce development, not on the color of somebody's skin and what their outward appearance looks like. Let's get back to traditional academics. Let's make sure that we're focusing on getting these students prepared for the workforce.
So, similar question for Bill, but obviously you're in office, so your question is, do you want to keep these initiatives in place, or how would you approach them, even as your opponent pointed out, the Texas legislature has worked to remove most of them?
Well, for me, it's a non-issue because the legislature apparently is going to pass that law on DEI. As the official position of Tarrant County College, it's in writing. We will follow the law. Tarrant County College has not initiated any DEI policy as a result of all of this. That being said, in regard, I can see the argument about discrimination against white people, but the bottom line is that it's very competitive, very, very competitive to engage professors and instructors, very competitive. And it's absolutely not true that a decision will be made just based upon race. The staff does the best it can to get the best professors and instructors that are out there who are willing to come and work with our students. Secondly, it's very important to understand that we're accredited, and we have to hire instructors and professors who have certain qualifications, and they have to be the best qualifications. And the other matter is, my opponent has discussed dual credit, early college high schools. By the way, we have many early college high schools that are very successful. But our professors who are in those classes that we support have to have certain accreditation. They have to have certain things that are available for them to teach. So that's my answer to that.
Just to drill down this a little bit more, Laura, if 2/3 of the students are of color at TCC, how do you think the college can best serve them? Let's elaborate on that a little bit more. I mean, what are the best ways to do that?
That is a very broad, very divisive question, because that is stating that there are different needs just simply based on the color of their skin. That I don't see that is apropos to how you teach a student with traditional academics. Mr. Greenhill has also stated that there are no initiatives at the college, but I would like to point out the fact that there is an entire department specifically around DEI, and that the chancellor has stated publicly that she is in favor of race-based hiring versus based on merit.
Well, Bill, what are your thoughts?
That's of course a false statement, totally false. And in regard to students discussing things with teachers, one of the basic ideas that we have is we meet students where they are. We meet students where they are, and I've heard when I've been around, I've talked to teachers and professors at TCC who discuss things with students, and when you have a similar mindset with that student, I've been advised that assists that student in completing his goals or her goals. I've talked to one African-American teacher who said, we work very hard to encourage our students to continue when they want to quit. And when they have the same kind of mindset that these students have, I argue that could help. So I disagree with my opponent in this regard. Period.
Laura, anything you want to add to that?
Sure, I would absolutely agree that is a great approach to it, is we meet students where they are and we encourage them to continue on even when they want to quit. But I would ask, the question is, why does the color of their skin matter on how you approach them and where you meet them where they are? Shouldn't we again be focused on training them and preparing them for the workforce. And I don't understand why you would approach a student based on their outer appearance and saying you're meeting them where they are because they look a certain way. Why are we not focused on elevating these kids and preparing them for success and focusing on success? And I applaud that sentiment, and I encourage that sentiment of if they are willing to, if they're about to quit, that they need to continue on, and encouraging them to continue on. Absolutely. I don't think that any of the kids should go into this with the mindset of I'm not going to have success, and I think that it is incumbent upon all of us, both at the college and in the community, to make sure that they do continue forward in a path for success.
No response.
We'll go back to a budget question, which we started touching on earlier, but TCC, and this is for Bill first, kept its tax rate flat, as we've said last year, but that effectively raised its budget because of property tax valuations. How do you justify that increase, that budget, when enrollment is down and taxpayers are asking for relief?
Well, as I said before, our budget has been more or less the same for the last 3 years, and we work very, very hard, starting now, to keep that budget and use tax dollars as we can. As I said, the tax burden is $37 more for a taxpayer this year. I would say that we are spending the money very, very well, and that it's the best bang for the buck that this community has. Tarrant County College, with all of the programs that we have, the professors that we have, the encouragement we give to students. We examine our budget very, very carefully. We have 2 meetings every month in which Susan Alanis, our COO, who used to be with the city of Fort Worth, is very, very conscious of our using taxpayer funds very, very carefully. And that's one of our goals. We have told the chancellor in our first meeting that we are going to insist on a tight budget and not raise the budget at all. There has been inflation, but we have to work through this from now until August when we adopt that budget.
Lauren, slightly different worded question. Obviously, your platform is to cut taxes, so what programs or people specifically would you cut without sacrificing the educational quality provided to students?
Well, one of the things is taking a look at the budget, and actually is on a line-by-line item. What exactly is in the budget? What is the $396 million approximately? What is that made up of? And one of the things that is continually is in the budget, which accounts for, I believe, about $20 million year over year, is requested, funded, but unfilled positions for personnel. There's just one very simple way of one simple process right there with let's look to see if there is any waste, if there is any fraud in the budget. Let's look at that instead of just taking a look at categories. Let's drill down. Let's treat this as if this were a business. Let's treat this as if the money that is entrusted to the college is spent exactly where it needs to be spent. And we'll go back to there is a DEI department, and the intent is not to go back to that subject, but that is another area where we can take a look. What the state has said, the governor has said that is not allowed. Let's get that out of the budget. Instead of looking at ways that we can spend more money, let's look at ways without sacrificing the educational aspects, without sacrificing programs that are working and leading the students towards success. Let's look at the ways that we can reduce the budget and get it in line with what it should be. And again, it needs to be focused on job skills, workforce development, and making sure that the students are prepared for this community and to be effective members of the workforce. So it's a very simple question. It's a very easy question to answer. I understand that it's not a very simple process, but it is a very important process to make sure that you're doing due diligence in the budgeting process. Thank you.
My response is we do due diligence in this process. The programs that we have, it starts out with an ask with the professors, the faculty and everybody get together and say, what do we need to do to advance what we are doing now? For example, there's always a study going on as to what should be taught and what should not be taught. Technology changes, job skills change, the business of workforce development changes. So what is going on now is an analysis in regard to which of our programs should be enhanced, which programs should be reduced, and this of course comes out in the budget. As I said, it is a very extensive process. Student success is always the number one. Student success. Success is within reach, and we will never do anything to sacrifice that.
Anything else you want to add to that, Laura?
No, thank you.
Okay. So the next question, we'll start with Laura, and there's a post from a supporter on your Facebook campaign election page that says the TCC board is full of corruption, except for Shannon Wood. So the question is, do you agree with that sentiment? And if so, what are some specific? Full of corruption.
Full of corruption.
So do you agree with this sentiment? If so, can you provide specific examples of that corruption that's on the board?
And you stated that one of my supporters put that on Facebook?
On your election page, your Facebook page.
Okay, well, I have not seen that. I don't know who that is. I have no control over what people who support me, what they say. So to make a blanket statement of always, never, 100%, 0%, to make blanket statements like that is, I don't think is appropriate. I would never state that it is 100% full of corruption on that board. I would never state that.
Well, it doesn't say 100% full, but full of corruption.
Full of corruption, okay, so not 100%.
Is there corruption on the TCC board?
I can't answer that. I don't have specific evidence of that, so I can't say that there is corruption on that board. What I can say is what's important to this community, and that's making sure that we have good governance at TCC as a taxing entity, and that we focus on where we need to focus. And I keep saying it, and I'm going to say it again because it's vitally important that we focus on educating and preparing these students for the workforce, job skills, workforce development, and that's where the focus needs to be, and not on any particular pet projects that maybe come along by individuals that are part of the administration, but we need to focus on preparing these kids for success.
Bill, slightly different question for you, but related. You're associated with many of the longtime movers and shakers of Fort Worth. Given that, why should the average everyday voter who doesn't necessarily move in those circles support you and trust you and vote for you?
Can you ask, what's that question again?
Yeah. So you're by virtue of being in the community a long time, you're associated with many of the longtime movers and shakers. I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, but it is true. So I think there is a natural suspicion among some that if you're in that group, you're not necessarily of the average everyday person. So why should people vote for you?
Well, I'm Bill Greenhill, and I have a total compassion after 10 years of work for serving this community. And it's never occurred to me that people that I'm friends with would try to influence me or anything. I'm here for community service. The key word is community. I have friends, everybody has friends, but that, to me, it's a non-issue. Why would you trust me? Well, I'm Bill Greenhill, I'm a lawyer, I'm ethical. I'm a grandfather, I go to baseball games, I go to Little League baseball games, and there are all kinds of people there, and I'm having a good time. I'm Bill Greenhill, I'm just a normal citizen of this community, and trying to do the best I can to support it through my 10-year work as a trustee on this community college board of trustees, and as a member of the CATT. I don't take advantage of other people that it's very rare that community college ever comes up in a conversation when I'm with people in a social atmosphere. So, as I say, I'm a lawyer. I have to be very ethical anyway. And why should they trust me? I have a rule of life, and this kind of gets into religion a little bit, but I have a rule of life which I follow. And it comes from the Torah: do justice, love compassion, and work humbly with your God. And that's Bill Greenhill.
Laura, anything you want to add to that?
Well, I'm Laura Pritchett, and I'd like to just remind all of the voters that 70% of the voters in District 4 stated that they do not want Mr. Greenhill to come back as a trustee. And I received 42% of the votes in a four-way tie, which, had this been a plurality, I would have won and we would not be sitting here tonight. But because of the rules of a majority of 50+1, the race did go into a runoff. So I cannot account for who Mr. Greenhill's friends are, and I don't think that that is very interesting to me, that people feel like because he's a mover and a shaker in those circles that he's the best trustee for this. It is interesting to note that one of his contributors was Mr. Barr, one of his fellow trustees that contributed $500 to his campaign, and it makes me wonder if that was to elicit any sort of favorable votes and to elicit any sort of favoritism on that board as a trustee. Thank you.
No response.
Okay. The final question, we'll start with Bill. Ultimately, the TCC's board's power, other than setting policy and tax rates, is with the hiring and firing of the chancellor. What are your hopes for the new chancellor, and how will you hold her accountable to the goals of the board?
Dr. LeBlanc is a phenomenal chancellor. She has a wealth of experience in dealing with community colleges. She was a professor, she was an administrator in Del Mar College. She was the president of the Northwest campus. She was our provost for many years, and we engaged her after Dr. Giovannini left, and she has done a marvelous, marvelous job of keeping us rolling where we are. I have complete confidence in Dr. LeBlanc. She is ethical. You talk about transparency. Anything we ask, we get the information. She's got a compassion for our community college. She is really a rock star when it comes to being the chancellor. She's well known by all the chancellors. I know this personally in the state because I've been with her in many meetings. how do we keep her accountable? We have an assessment every year, and it takes about 3 months, and she will say, these are my goals. We say, these are what we would like for you to focus on. And we discuss this, and we come to an agreement, and during this assessment, we have to do this every year, and it takes about 3 months to do that. And that's how we hold her accountable.
Or the same question, but would add, how would you evaluate how the chancellor's doing so far?
Now, as a hopefully soon to be elected trustee on the board, I look forward to the opportunity to be able to work with Dr. LeBlanc and get to know her and some of her goals. I think it's important to note that Mr. Greenhill did state at our last debate that he has had the privilege of serving under 3 chancellors. And I'm wondering if he has confused the role of a trustee, where it is the trustee, the board of trustees, who has oversight over the chancellors, instead of having the chancellor have oversight over the trustees. And so, again, I'm very, very much looking forward to getting to know Dr. LeBlanc and understanding her goals and how the board can work in cooperation with setting policy, with making sure that the budget is in alignment, but understanding that the role of the trustee is to have that oversight versus the other way around.
Bill, any rebuttal to that? No. All right, well, we'll go right to closing remarks then, and we'll start with Laura in closing remarks.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. You've taken some time out of your day, and I realize that we all have a lot of things that we can be doing, and so I thank everyone in here and everyone who's watching online. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself to you, if I haven't had a chance to meet you before. And it is always a pleasure to spend some time with Mr. Greenhill as well. And again, I thank him for the community service that he has provided over the many decades. I look forward to serving as a trustee. I believe that Tarrant County College has a great opportunity to be a great resource in this community. I have a great vision for it, and I've already started reaching out to people within the community about how we can make it an even better place, and making sure that we are a shining example of how it can be a great resource within the community, and how we can continue to improve what's already there, with the focus being on the students and the job skills and workforce development. So again, it's been very much a pleasure. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate this. And I look forward to seeing all of you out on the campaign trail. And for all of you who are in District 4, I thank you very much for your vote. Thank you.
All right, Bill, your closing remarks?
Yes, excuse me. I've really, as I've said, I'm very, very compassionate about being a trustee on this board. Having served for 10 years, as I said, I have a compassion for student success, student affordability, for affordability, accountability, and quality education. Notwithstanding what my opponent said, Tarrant County College is a shining star in the college world. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. If you look at our website, you will see all the programs that we have to enhance the workforce development and to enhance our community. And I look very much forward to serving another 6 years on this board of trustees. We work as a team, and as that team, we have made enormous advances over the last several years. Transparency. Look at our website on the bond transaction. is every detail that you can get. I've really, really enjoyed being, I want you to vote for me again. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Laura and Bill, for putting yourself out there and being part of this important discussion. And thank you for everybody here and watching at home. I think we're preaching to the choir to everybody who's already paying attention to this about the importance of local involvement and local government. But go out and tell your friends, spread the word for them about how important these local issues are and why you should get involved and make a difference in your community. You can read about this at fortworthreport.org in the morning and watch the recording of this video. Remember, Election Day is June 10th, and we thank you for your time and interest.